How do you go about it? Do I spend, you know, 20 grand on getting some computer person in who'll bamboozle me with computer speak?
Well, you can if you want to, but you don't. You absolutely don't have to. There are a lot of different things there are a lot of different ways that you can begin to think about developing an online presence. Basically, starting with a website. The first thing that you need to think about is what you need the site to do. You know, is it at the basic level like an online brochure? Does it just basically need to tell people who you are, what you do, how to get in touch with you, you know, in order to kind of actually get engaged with you as a business? Or is it more an active part of the business? Are you going to sell products through it? Are you going to create some kind of an engagement directly within the site with your customers, with your potential customers? If it's the latter, then there's a whole extra world of technical development and stuff that you know you'd obviously need to be thinking about as part of building the business. So I'll take that aside from the idea of just marketing through your website at this point. But if it's the former, and I think unless a business is starting out to work online, most small businesses will be using their website, essentially their first website, as a brochure. Then there's a couple of different things that you can do. You can go to, you know, a web agency and tell them what you need and explain how your business is going to work and who you are and all the things about the brand that I was just talking about, that idea of, you know, the personality you want to project and what the logo looks like and things like that, and give that all over to them and work with them to develop your website. You can do that, and there are certainly advantages to doing that, because you know you'll have a site that is specifically designed for you, that's designed to reflect everything that you've said you want to reflect, and that will be, you know, distinct and different from all the other websites out there. But a lot of businesses starting up either, you know, don't have the ability to invest at that level right from the outset, or for whatever reason, you know, they might just need to do something really quickly to get things going, whatever. There are a lot of different things that you can do in that circumstance. There are applications that you can download from any number of places on the website. You know, do an internet search and you'll find, you know, website developing tools. If you register a domain name, excuse me, a URL, the address that your website will be at, a lot of the companies that you can do that through also offer hosting space, i.e. a home for your website on the internet. And as part of that package, they also offer those kind of tools that will help you build a simple 4 or 5 page website that has a homepage about us, services, contact us, whatever those pages might be. Those tools will let you put the content into the page layout, link it all together, upload it to the hosting that they're providing for you, and then there it is on the internet. The downside to that kind of approach, there's a couple of specific things. One is they tend to be based on kind of a very templated model. So apart from being able to add your logo and maybe, you know, a photograph here or a photograph there, your site could end up looking an awful lot like a lot of other websites. So you might look a little bit more generic as a business. The impression that you give might be a little bit less specific, which obviously to some users is kind of more important than to others. But the other thing that can be a downside to using those kind of tools is that within the way that the internet works, the way that the World Wide Web works, is that, you know, you may be familiar with a number of different web browsers: Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari if you use a Mac, and a number of others. There are any number of browsers, and obviously there are a couple of different primary platforms that people use, which is Windows or the Apple Mac platform. All of those potentially can make the way that your website looks slightly different, because each of them works in a slightly different way, and each one of them has its own particular little quirks. So when you build your site of 5 pages using the templates provided by your hosting company, or the tools provided by your hosting company, you might look at it and it might look absolutely perfect to you because you're looking at it in Internet Explorer on a PC, for example. But if your first customer comes to it and happens to be looking at it in Safari on a Mac, it could look completely different. Things could be in the wrong places, links might not work. It's potentially not going to be consistent across all the different ways that people might look at it. And of course now people are looking at it on mobile phones, they're looking at it on iPads, they're looking at it on any number of other different kind of devices, all of which will have its own quirks as well. So having the site built using some of these automatic tools, these automated systems, doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to look right to everybody. And that's one of the advantages of having a web developer build your site for you, is that that's somebody who ideally will know how the different browsers work, how being on a Mac affects certain things differently than a PC affects them, how things might work on a mobile phone or an iPad or whatever. Each of those different little quirks is something that they've learned by experience, and every time there's a new version of a browser comes out, they'll have to learn the quirks of that new version. Those tools tend not to be able to keep track of those kind of things. The code that they generate might not be adaptable and flexible enough to guarantee a consistent presentation of your site to all the users who might be using it. So from that point of view, although it can be quicker, it can be easier, it can certainly be cheaper to use those sort of tools to build a templated version of a site for your business. In the long term, or even in the immediate term, you might actually find that it's working against getting your message in front of the people that you're trying to talk to.